Hello and welcome to Goose Live. I'm your host, Charlie Stivers, also publisher of Goose Magazine. And in today's episode, you're going to want to pay attention to this. We have a real life academic who got his master's degree in blockchain technology. And we're going to kind of compare and contrast how crypto experience versus the academic degree kind of plays out in this newer industry. Obviously, he was primarily doing it to further his career in the more traditional route. But it's going to be cool to pick his brain on the stuff he learned, how he can apply it not only to his job, but also in crypto trading. So hang tight and we will be right back. And we're back. All right, so yeah, today is going to be a pretty cool conversation. I connected with this gentleman through a friend who knew we just had to talk, and boy, did we hit it off. Mm-hmm. I was super curious to dig into what he learned as far as a formal education in blockchain technology, and he got his master's degree. Primarily to further his career path. He works in the payment processing industry and saw how blockchain technology, crypto is going to be a part of it in the future, and just saw that this could be a valuable skill. So, we just got to talk in, have fun together, bounce ideas off each other. And today we get to hear from him, his perspective, and kind of where this is all going and the value he got out of this. So I want to introduce Erik, and we'll just leave it at that for now. And stay tuned to the end. We have something else to reveal for you as well. So welcome aboard, Erik.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Yeah. So, gosh, it's been really cool chatting with you. So let's have the audience get to know you a little bit better. Why don't you share with us how you got your start in crypto first?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I'm in the payments industry, and I give credit to a coworker of mine, and we just kind of realized, hey, look, we're in the payments industry. Of course, it's all fiat money right now, but that could affect our industry. It could affect payments. It will affect payments, right? Um, and we need to keep ourselves relevant, right? Regardless of our age, we need to keep ourselves relevant. And so the first thing we did was I'm in the Denver area, like yourself. And the first thing we did was attend a Bitcoin training conference in August of 2019 that happened to be in Denver. And Andreas Antonopoulos spoke there and realized, wow, this guy has written Mastering Bitcoin and Mastering Ethereum and the Internet of Money and several other books. And just really a great instructor, very knowledgeable. If you Google at least a while back, the top influencers in the crypto space, he made the top 20, folks in there, right? So a lot of credibility there. Then he was also associated with what's called C4, which is a cryptocurrency certification consortium. And they have different certifications you can get. There's a blockchain auditing certification, which is relatively new, where someone can come in and audit the company. And then what I started out with was the Bitcoin certified professional. So went ahead and took and got that certification. And that was good, and learned some more. And then likewise, again, my coworker was like, there's a master's degree out there in blockchain and digital currency. And it turns out the same person, Andreas Antonopoulos, is associated with that university, and he teaches the intro class, and it's out of actually Nicosia, which is in Cyprus island off of Greece. And obviously, it's all remote. If you can't make the classes, it was all recorded. And so I took the intro class for the first semester. It's free. They kind of get you, and then they're to get you to see if you're interested, whatever. And I'm like, hey, okay, I'm definitely interested, because like all of us, we had heard about Bitcoin on CNBC and things, but I hadn't really dug into it. And he said something even in 2019. He's like, you guys are here, you're getting educated. Congratulations. This is where you need to be. And I want to stress to all of our listeners out there, it is not too late, right? So if you get these people to say, well, I got Bitcoin when it was 11 cents, or I started this a year after Satoshi's white paper, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? It does not matter. What matters is you're listening to this, so you're interested in it. There is incredible opportunity out there. And it is not too late. In fact, now is a great time. If you look at cryptocurrency, there's been some traditionally 4-year cycles. And there was a bull run that we had, and now we're kind of in what's called a crypto winter. Some people are thinking we're out of crypto winter. We're into the spring now. You're working our way towards summer or whatever, and getting ready. So when things are low like this is a great time to get in to dollar cost average, possibly, or just to get some some stocks and get in there. So it's just not too late, to get started. And that's kind of the way I felt, regardless of my age, regardless of what's going on. It's just not too late. And I'm grateful I went down that road.
Yeah, very interesting. And then did you have any crypto investing experience? Did you dabble any?
I hadn't at first. And started to play with it, like not before the Bitcoin training conference. What I did just for fun, because I knew someday I'm going to be on a podcast like this. We actually, when the conference was open, I went in Colorado. I went to my local Safeway just to be obnoxious, and they had one of those Coinstar things that used to be used for counting all your pennies, nickels, dimes, and giving you money back. And nobody kind of needs that as we get more digital. So to repurpose themselves, you can now buy Bitcoin from the kiosk. And I just thought it'd be funny to buy Bitcoin. And I didn't buy a lot, obviously, just to say I did it. And we took some pictures and we made a ceremony out of it. Here's my first purchase was right. We went straight from the conference to the Safeway and bought some Bitcoin,
Nice.
from the Safeway grocery store, just for fun, and took
I knew
pictures.
they were doing the gift cards, but I didn't realize Bitcoin. That's cool.
Yeah. So you actually like you had to do KYC and everything. So you took pictures of your
Did.
license and you smiled and then it's like, okay, I had to put in your address and ask you all these questions and it did it all there, but I didn't have to leave and go home. Driver's license was enough, but they needed address and so they did the KYC. And then
Know your
then I was like,
customer, by the way,
okay,
for the audience.
what's that?
Know your customer. Just
Yes, know your customer,
informatic
right?
jargon.
So that goes along with AML, which is anti-money laundering. And so they did their know your customer checks, put me in the system, and you create an account, user ID and password, and this thing that used to count nickels and dimes is now like going to give me Bitcoin. It's like, okay, put some money in. So put in some 20s into the thing and just buy a little bit to say we did it. And that was actually my first Bitcoin. And then of course got more serious. And then just I started to say like, okay, let's get an account going and let's get some, do some more purchases. And then just, along with the just investing and listening to podcasts, and you're like, oh my gosh, I really like, Bitcoin's a great, digital gold, of course, and it's a great, accumulation for wealth in the future. I still believe that strongly. But then there also all of a sudden you start learning about Ethereum and smart contracts and hey, well, that has more utility to it. And there's got to be some value with all those smart contracts and not just digital gold. And so you got to get some Ethereum to go with your Bitcoin. And then it was all of a sudden my God, Charles Hoskinson and what he's doing with Cardano, that's pretty darn cool. He's taking his time and he's doing it right and not just hitting the hype cycle. So better get some Cardano. And it just kind of cycles from there. And
it does.
And it can be pretty contagious.
Sucks
and you start listening to podcasts and see what the code experts are saying. And then you kind of doing your own research. And so that got me into the vesting. It's just kind of snowball that just started to roll,
Yeah, and so our audience knows smart contracts are basically software on the blockchain, and it does a specific task regardless of any type of input. So it does what it says it's going to do without any intervention. So that's part of this whole decentralization movement. And the other one I was going to mention. And Ethereum is more like programmable money. So Eric mentioned Bitcoin is digital gold. They often refer to Ethereum as programmable money. So that's the utility behind that. And that's really how originally Ethereum skirted around the securities law because they had that gut check out of the gate and it passed. And now SEC, they're causing a mess like currently right now. So now they're saying everything but Bitcoin is a security. So here we are again. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. So I digress. Had to throw that in there. As far as your curriculum or your learning, was there anything that just kind of like sealed the deal more for where this is all headed with blockchain technology and crypto, Web3, and all those?
Yeah, it did. So another thing along with the university, one thing I liked about it, they started in 2014. So they were the first university in the world to have a degree in blockchain. And then they also, even from the beginning, they accepted Bitcoin as a payment. And when you're done, your diploma is actually on the blockchain. So I think that's pretty cool. If you take the intro class and you take the quiz, that's on the, your diploma is on the blockchain too. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
But yeah, so what kind of stood out, I took the intro class. That's for free, did it for a semester. And then you're learning a lot of the stuff I had learned already from the Bitcoin training conference and just research, but just a lot of talk about the basics in case you're brand new and what decentralization is and what the blockchain is. And, Byzantine general empires, dilemma and gaming theory and things like that. So yeah, so it's just some algorithms that basically what you're trying to do is you have to be careful. It gets into for validation, you can do proof of work, and then Ethereum was that, and now their consensus algorithm is now proof of stake, and so a lot of this is just algorithms of like, hey, how can you verify that this transaction is legit, right? The biggest problem that they have is the double spend problem, right? So if I'm going to go ahead and spend $100, what if I try to spend $100 somewhere else quickly and the blockchain hasn't reconciled that, and I've double spent my money. And then so that's one of the things they look at. So a lot of this algorithms is just to try to make sure that, hey, how do we get consensus? How do we in this decentralized system, do we get people to confirm that this is a legitimate transaction or not? So that's part of what you learned in the intro. Finished that class, and then I knew I was hooked from what I learned already in the intro class. And then, you just started going through them. I won't get into all kinds of details for everybody here. You can look on their website, but it starts out, some of it was, there was a general money and banking class. And that was just some really good information there. Not even just crypto, but just in general, like you learn about, a review of money has three primary goals, right? Unit of account, medium exchange, store value, things like that. And then a lot, especially this was in the middle of COVID, was like, okay, all right, quantitative tightening, quantitative easing, right? How does all of that work in the economy, right? How we're printing all this money, what does it mean? And how does that affect the economy, right? So that was good. We went from traditional money and banking, and then emerging topics in fintech was another class. That was cool because then it's talking about the neobanks. So like, okay, now we don't have a brick and mortar. This is just a bank, and it's a virtual bank. And we talked about the pros and cons of that, and a lot of these issues, as we've learned with FTX and whatnot, liquidity is a big issue. So you got to make sure you've got liquidity in case there's a run on things. So that was a good one. Open and decentralized financial systems. That was another good class. Well, another one was regulation and digital currencies. And that, oh my gosh, that's just what you talked about, Charlie, was, that's like the Howey test. Which is a criteria of questions that says is this, the Securities and Exchange Commission came up with this long ago, is this a security? And that's what everybody's debating. And that's the big debate. And this is supposed to be settled already. And they still haven't figured out with Ripple or its XRP, how is this going to go? What is the regulation going to do? Is it going to be in favor of XRP or against it? And that could affect the whole regulation in there. So that regulation and digital currencies class just made you realize there's a whole lot more questions than there are answers in that space. And we just talked about all those questions. And we just talked about, and there's joking, I even heard a podcast. Someone said oh my God, there's still I think it's the Supreme Court or one of the bodies of the government is still trying to make a decision on something on the internet, which has been around since 1995. So how they're ever going to, they're having trouble figuring out who's even going to be in charge of some of this, let alone what they're going to do. So, so it was interesting getting into that course too. Probably my favorite was, there's an intro to digital currencies, but then token economics was a good one. And as we may know, Bitcoin has 21 million tokens, and there'll never be any more. And it's that scarcity model, right? So it's your basic economics of supply and demand. So we spent a lot of time talking about supply and demand, and those token economics and what can make a token run. They had a nice set of charts where not so much now, but back then, like a year or two ago, just looking at Axie Infinity and what a run that it has had and some of its token economics and what they did to kind of get that community to kind of keep the coin to keep going, So token economics was probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's very important, and to relate it to stocks, that's basically like the circulating supply, just to keep it simple.
So yeah, so it was good. And a big thing that I liked about it was sometimes it was a little bit hard, but we had to do a lot of group projects, probably over almost half the classes or more. You had to do a group project, and you just kind of got either paired up with folks, got a team of 4 or 5, or you just said, hey, I want to do this, and someone else would get on a spreadsheet and join you. And oh my gosh, it was just literally from all around the world. So I had one. It was me, somebody from the Midwest, somebody from India, somebody from Sri Lanka, somebody from the Netherlands. Oh my gosh, one gal in our class was from Russia, but she's living in London, and then she took a trip to do a meetup for her company, a cryptocurrency company in Bali. Just all the experiences from all around the world. That was really great because that's the kind of you get to hear about that. In fact, I had one gentleman in my class that he kind of did token economics for his job. And so to have some of that real world experience was really, really pretty cool. Now it makes it hard with all these time zones to try to get everybody together at the same time. But other than that, that was just a really good dynamics just to learn from these people, like literally between the classes. I mean, my gosh, all my classes, I probably work with people from 15 different countries, and that was a lot of fun, so that was good.
Nice. And then what has been your experience? I did one topic was the good, the bad, the ugly. We all make mistakes, lose money along the way. Have you had some of those experiences as well?
Yeah, of course, and that was I like that talk that you did last month on that. And I think, if you do it long enough, you are going to have some good, you are going to have some bad and some ugly, and there's no doubt about it. Right. So, we'll just go in order: good, bad, ugly. Good was Cardano. I remember getting in there, got in early. We're starting to now get to the fall, and we were getting to the point, okay, we're starting to go up that ramp. And at that point, oh my gosh, Bitcoin was supposed to go to 80,000 minimum, probably 120. And someone says 200,000, and, and Ethereum was supposed to go to 20,000, and Cardano was sitting there. I got in at like 68 cents, and it got up to like $3. Now it's supposed to go to 4.50 to 8 to 12. It never hit those highs, but they timed it pretty well, where they all kind of thought it was going to be in that fall of 2021, I guess, is when it's going to kind of hit its high, and then it's going to come on down. And it did that. The highs weren't just as high. So the good thing is I started to get out of some of my positions, out of the Cardanos, so made some good money on that. The good, the bad was there some other things that you didn't make money on. The ugly, and this is one, I'll just admit it, I knew better, Charlie. Shame on me. I knew better. I just got lazy. And so that's one of the things one of the best things I've learned on this. I mean, we learned so much in this master's degree, but one of the practical things, and this, real life experience versus master's degree, one of the practical things that you learn, and they told us over and over, keys, and Andreas was popular for this. Not your keys, not your crypto, and basically get your stuff off the centralized exchange. And I knew that, and I need to get my hard wallet, or get it off of on a Chromebook that's not on the internet, whatever. And I intellectually knew this, and I had just gotten lazy, so I ended up with some tokens in Voyager, and then they ended up having liquidity issues and they froze. And I just got an email recently where they're like, okay, they're looking at like 35% is what they're going to pay out.
Got some back.
That they're going to pay back or whatever like that. So it's like, Shame on me. I knew this, and I had just gotten lazy and busy and taking classes and, raising my daughters. And all of a sudden it's just like, come on, dude, you know better. So that's kind of my ugly story. It's like, I knew to get it off the central exchange, and I just hadn't gotten that done in time, So
yeah. And then one other question I had about your curriculum is: did the instructors or even some of your peers or fellow students have any biases to any? Like, obviously, we hear the Bitcoin maxis, but did you run into the bias very much?
I got to be honest. So kudos to the university. I mean, certainly some of the students may have some of their biases, but I didn't see a whole lot of that. I personally have never been a Bitcoin maxi. I never will be. I think Bitcoin's great. It's in my portfolio. I will always have some. I think that's what we would call your, if you want to relate it to stocks, a blue chip stock, that's a blue chip crypto, right? That's one of those buy, get it off the centralized exchange, forget you own it, and come take a look 5-10 years from now. I think it's just a beautiful play, in my opinion, on that. And you'll hear that opinion by many people, type of thing. There was no instructors that were Bitcoin maxis. I didn't have anybody really hyping one coin or really trashing another coin or whatever. I thought they did a pretty good job of trying to be neutral and just kind of talk more about the technology and then try to teach you about token economics so you can make your own decision. Okay, do I want to go into Dogecoin or not, right? I can't even say that without laughing. Personally, I'm out of that one. I was never in it, but I'm not a big fan of trying to catch the meme stocks, because that's, That's just more gambling in Vegas and hope you get lucky
Yeah.
kind of thing, in my opinion. But yeah, no, I didn't see a whole lot of bias, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good. As far as trying to think where I wanted to go with that. Drew a blank there. As far as the like curriculum, you said tokenomics, but for your career, like, do you see it definitely like dovetailing into where your company is going, or how you can apply those new skills?
I do, and I'm still doing the job that I've been doing for a while, but I've got my eye on. We spun up actually a cryptocurrency department, and specifically for that reason, and we've spent a lot of time on CBDCs, and that's a central bank digital currency for those people not familiar with that term. And there was a really valuable website, and it was really neat because, and this is the whole part of like getting people from all around the world and getting people's experiences, and this particular website wasn't in the slides, but the instructor said, thank you very much for putting that in the chat, and that's going to be in next semester's slides.
Oh.
And it had a list of, it had a chart, and here's all the central bank digital currencies that are being discussed or under development or being talked, and here's what US is doing, here's what India is doing, here's what China's doing, on and on. And then it actually said like how it's going to work, as well as they know, and what platform they're going to use and who's helping to develop it, and then how far along it is, type of deal. So even back then, China's kind of been in the early lead with some of that, and they've had some drops where they sent out their CBDC and said, okay, this is going to be a trial. We're going to give you a little bit of money. Here's some places you can spend it. And you got like 3 weeks to go spend it or you're going to lose it. So they could just kind of track it and see how it works and does a benchmark on top of that. So I know my company was part of a international competition where they submitted, and they won it as far as like how the CDBC and an implementation plan and how that would work. But that would be a way for the audience, that would be a way for, if you think about like COVID and here's stimulus checks, or here's a $1,200 check we want to send you, or your tax return, instead of it going a traditional check to paper check that you cash, or even maybe to your bank account, it could be a digital currency that's backed by the Federal Reserve. And then you could take that, you would have that CBDC, and be a very easy and quick way to get money out to people, and then encourage them to go out and then spend and stimulate the economy. So there's everybody's looking at that. I know there's been for quite some time now. There's a couple of smaller countries in the Caribbean that already have their CBDC fully functioning, type of deal. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens in that space. So I think a lot of this can be applicable, especially if I decide to make that plunge and see if the crypto team needs some more people, or I'm ready to go to that team. So that's kind of applicable. But yeah, being in the payments industry, I mean, you're just going to take a look at Ripple and XRP and cross-border payments and things like that. I just don't know how, you've already got Venmo, you've already got, Zelle, you've already got all these payments. I just don't know how it's not going to be affected. And I just feel like, kind of having the foundation of this in these classes and what's happening in fintech and CDBC and regulation and just how the blockchain works and why decentralization is important, and why the blockchain is immutable, which means it can't be changed, and how important that is, and just all of the things that it can do is just, I think it's very applicable to the future, because it's coming, people. It is coming, right? There's certain people may not like it. China may say, don't mine in my country. India may ban it, then unban it, and then ban it again. And they go back and forth and all this thing. But at the end of the day, it is not going away. It is coming. I kind of feel the same way about chat GPT and artificial intelligence. There's kind of two ways you can look at this. One is like, oh my God, this is going to be terrible, and it's going to take over the world like the sci-fi movies, and I'm going to lose my job, and artificial intelligence is just going to destroy everything, and that's one way to look at it, and just be in fear of it and wondering if I'm going to keep my job, right? If you're a plumber, you're probably safe. Other things, maybe not so much, A better way to look at it is to get that account, go into ChatGPT, start to understand it, see how it can make your job better, how it can make it easier, how it can avoid that, like, I don't really know what to say or work on this project, how you can like avoid that blank page problem of like, where do I start? Just asking some questions, and it's pretty amazing stuff. And so like crypto is kind of like artificial intelligence. You can either fear it or you can embrace it and let it work to you and your advantage. And people, I'm telling you, you might as well embrace it, because they're both here. Artificial intelligence and cryptocurrency, they're both here. They're both not going away. They both can do wonderful things, type of thing. So it's just like anything, the internet can do wonderful things and do us online banking. And then there's some, there's things that aren't so wonderful, the Silk Road and everything. So it's like anything, there's going to be positives and negatives. I'm an optimist, the glass is half full, and I just think there's going to be more good than there will be negative out of both of those. So it's not too late. I'd say embrace it. And you don't have to get a master's degree. You can just listen to a lot of podcasts or things like what we're doing right here, or YouTube channels or whatever. Yeah. Pick up a book, whatever, just get online, just listen to what folks have to say. There's just a lot of information out there, and just embrace it.
Pick up Goose Magazine.
Pick up Goose Magazine. There you go.
Which actually, we do need to take a quick break. So we'll be back in about 60 seconds. So I appreciate that segue. That was perfect, and that was not planned. So, but yeah, I didn't show you this or tell you this earlier, but they all showed up. So we got a bunch of these here at the office,
nice.
And we got them shipped out, ready to be out there for distribution. So we're super excited about that opportunity. And so, yeah, Goose Magazine is going to be a go-to resource for people to get educated on best practices, discover innovative companies, and emerging leaders, and just hear good stories about what's going on, but also the good, the bad, and the ugly. I mean, that's part of this learning experience. And it's super important to learn from people who have had that experience, both on the academic side and with real life experience. So let's talk a little bit about some of our experiences that we've had working together. Not much good yet, potential good, but that's part of this crypto game. We talk mostly about the good and the excitement, and sometimes we feel like we hype it up too much, but there is a lot of risk. You have to, what we teach is safety first, and build that confidence, and then the profitability will come. So, you got to get started somehow, and learning anything new, especially technology, just takes time. And that's part of what we're here for. So yeah, let's, we decided to have some fun, beyond just talking ideas. I came across this project, very risky. It had a decent track record. Leadership was a little questionable. And so I'll tell the story. It was kind of a relaunch, I guess, of another token. And I don't think we need to get specific on this one. We can if you want. And it was hyped up, and it was interesting. You brought up tokenomics. Well, it started out with a 50,000 token supply, which, it's like ching ching, hey, this could be another Bitcoin potential. And we were sitting there, at our computers, kind of, just on video, and we saw this thing just run up. What was it, like 15,000 the first
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
And we're all watching this thing, and it's green, 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 and we're like, there's no sales going on. So we're like, nope. So, and literally this happened in what, 2 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, it went up really quick. Yeah, less than 10. Yeah.
Yeah. And the devs get on, they're like, we need to pause the contract because they had some kind of routing with a decentralized exchange wrong, and it wouldn't allow anyone to sell. So the good thing, the devs did the right thing, and they refunded all the capital that was put into the contract. So plan B was a relaunch, and so obviously it lost some confidence from a lot of people, and what they called a fair launch. And so we're going to tie in here this whole AI thing here in a second. And it was an interesting fair launch, meaning they would allow, because there was so much demand and very little supply, they allowed one token in the first minute, another 1.5 token the first 5 minutes, then 1.5 the second 5 minutes, and so on incrementally. And very similar, the first 30 minutes, I don't think they were going to allow any sales. And then literally as soon as it hit 30 minutes, 1 second, bam, huge red candle, right? And turns out it was a huge bot attack. And they did, I don't know if you saw today, they had the final document come out about what happened because everything's on the blockchain. It's all, you can research it. And so these guys deployed about $500,000, and they said they counted about 600 wallets, and the bot, all those purchases fed into one primary wallet, and literally as soon as it hit the 30 minutes, 1 second, that sold all of it. And so they cashed out like 2.5 million and just tanked the price. So here we are today, and it's doing a really good recovery. I don't know if you saw, but it was down as low as like 150, and now it's over 500. So, we'll see. And the protocol's sound. It's just during the fair launch, that's where it got the bot attack. And we do see that in some of these project launches. What was kind of your take on all this?
Oh my gosh, talk about a wild ride. So I hadn't chased a drop like that. So I had been doing kind of what I mentioned before, the more traditional stuff, a little more stable, easy to get into, the Bitcoins, the Ethereum, the Cardanos, things like that. And Polygon, right? Things like that. And so this is the first time to trace the drop. And it's so interesting. Our title here is Blockchain Master's Degree versus Real Life Crypto Experience, which is more valuable. And I just laughed because the first thing they said, we are not going to keep it fair. We're not going to send out the address, the smart contract address for the new token until like it hits at 0, GMT, which was 6 o'clock in Denver time. So Charlie and I are sitting there, and at 6 and at 6:30, it's still not there. I'm like, Charlie, am I missing it? And so finally it was there. And I'm like, oh my gosh, for me to try to make money off of this, it isn't going to be a master's degree that's going to make me, whether I make money. It's how quick can I do like point and click? How soon can I do Control C and do Control V and hurry up and paste that and hurry up and take my one token and exchange it for this token? And how quickly can I do that? And how much slippage should I have? So this is kind of the first time for me to chase this. And so I'm sitting there like trying to get this in. And then like, we always want to be smart, right? We always want to make the good decisions. And so I'm like, hey, we did it just right. And there's this thing called slippage. And how much are you going to allow the price to accelerate? And is it going to be 1%? Is it going to be 5%? And, or Charlie and I are talking about everybody else is going to be doing 20, 25. Maybe we should do 27. Just trying to figure this out. And you just kept going and putting the slippage up and it keep putting it up. And the transactions didn't go. And so then you're like, well, maybe the first one I should have the slippage really high because now the price is so high, and and you're just kind of driving yourself crazy. And I'm just like, just trying to figure out how to get this thing. And then all of a sudden, both of I looked at this. I'm like, all of a sudden, it's at 11,000. It's still climbing. I'm like, okay, somebody should have sold by now. This is kind of this market cap. Charlie's like, this market cap is way too high, and he was right. And then they went ahead. The other thing that they learned from their lesson, which I thought was really nice, was that they didn't stop people from buying a big block, and somebody bought like 40% of the token, and they actually had like $157 million in their wallet. But then they didn't, because they said, oh, well, I guess not, so this isn't fair, so we got to do it all over. So there's a lot of people in the forum like, I had enough money. If I could have sold, I could have bought a car and a house, and now I got nothing, and we got to start all over. And so then you're thinking, we got a better chance. We're going to get in. I'm going to keep my slippage high while the price is low, and this is going to be good. And I'm thinking the second time around, this will have a better chance. It happened to be, I had a class reunion to go to right in the middle of it, so I had to go to the car. Right. It was just crazy trying but this time it's going to work so I got my purchases finally pretty quickly. I'm like, okay, I should be good. And I'm like, going to get back to this reunion. I'm going to talk to these friends I haven't seen in 10 years. And then I'll see what happens when I get home or in the morning. And all of a sudden what happened, what Charlie said. And I'm just sitting here, oh, it's the bots again, and for a guy that has two daughters that are in high school, it just is like almost like trying to get Taylor Swift concert tickets. All the scalpers have all these bots and they buy them all up. So Joe Q Public can't buy these tickets because the bots are getting all the Taylor Swift concert tickets, and it's no different than this thing. So I'm like, so much for that one. It isn't how fast I can control, C and control V, cut and paste. In this particular case, it was like, all right, in order to get this thing, I guess we got to become bot programmers, Charlie, or,
yeah,
join them. I don't know. Or just wait if this is going to happen next time. Wait for that big candle to happen. Don't try to get in that first few minutes. But you just don't know. And that's what makes it so exciting, right? So that's part of the real life cryptocurrency experience, like we have in the title here is, and again, as we're doing this, Charlie was really great talking to people like myself and everybody that's kind of signed up with Goose to say like, hey, look, this may work and it may not. So it's it could be high risk, it could be high reward. We just don't know. So just don't bet the farm on this. Don't put in a lot of money. Don't pull into your home equity line of credit. Just enough that you're comfortable to realize this could just all go up in flames, or it could work out and we get lucky. You don't know, right? But it was fun just to get that experience and to be part of it. It didn't pan out like we wanted initially, but now we're starting to see some recovery. And again, getting down to the token economics, they actually burned some more of those 50,000. So I think there's only 40,000 left now or something like that. So it makes it even more scarce. So even though we may not have nailed it by finding the right time to buy it within that first hour, I think at the end of the day, it's like, hey, this and their APY of what they're going to do for staking is has
1% per day.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And so there's some serious potential on that too. But it was fun just to get that real life experience. So their master's degree, you don't get that experience doing that. The master's degree was great. Back to the title of this debate, the master's degree was debate to learn the fundamentals, to learn about blockchain, decentralization, token economics, emerging fintechs or whatever. But you don't get the real life experience of, like, they're not sitting there telling you how to open up a Coinbase wallet or how to get it into your Ledger wallet. You got to kind of figure that out yourself. They're not telling you the ins and outs of MetaMask, click here to do this or go to PancakeSwap to do that, right? That's where the real life crypto experience is, that you get. And my hat's off to Charlie and because at my point, like I said, mine was more traditional centralized exchange, and so having to try to chase a coin drop was pretty fun, and kudos to Charlie for that and the rest of the team and being a part of that process. And it's just pretty exciting, nerve-wracking, the whole 9 yards, but it's just you just chalk it up to experience, and the next thing you know, you're on a talk like this talking about it. So good, bad.
And I'm glad you mentioned the risk tolerance part of this, because we need to emphasize, there's tons of projects, call it shiny objects, whatever. There's like 22,000 different coins and tokens out there. So, if you come across one of these once in a while, you're talking a few $100. If it does a 10x, 20x, yeah, that's a nice payday. But and they call these asymmetric returns, where that upside potential, if it is a 10x or 20x, the downside is a few $100. So you can still pay your mortgage, still put food on the table.
Exactly.
So that's part of the risk management that we teach, and it's just part of the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is. Let's take one last break, and we'll go into this final segment, and we'll get into some cool stuff. All right. So yeah, one of the most important things to remember about crypto is it's truly about the people, and it's giving us the opportunity to take some control back, to give us a chance to be self-reliant, learn lessons of personal responsibility. That's a biggie in this. And, part of that is, what we say is get started safely, confidently, and then profitably. So, part of what we do with cryptocurrency for the people is we're building our own community to help people get started, because we truly don't want you to get left behind. Because just like you said, Eric, I mean, this whole CBDC thing is coming, and that's just part of crypto. So we need to know the good, the bad, and the ugly about those CBDCs, and then as we got to talking, we're like, hey, I think we can make this work, and, love your perspective. You obviously have that aptitude, and you're picking it up really quickly. So we're joining forces. You're coming on the team as one of our instructors. I'm excited and honored that you see our vision. Thank you.
Thank you. I mean, no, it goes right back to you. Thank you for taking me on, because it took me very little amount of time to realize Charlie knows what he's doing. We got the magazine, we got the channels, we got the media kit, and I'm like, he's got the education, he's got the knowledge, he's got the real world experience, of actually doing it, and doing these things, like trying to follow what happened with this coin drop, and it wasn't even really a decision. I'm like, oh, can I be a part of the team? I mean, this is just great. And again, if you're already doing your own thing, then fantastic. But if you're sitting back and I'm not sure how to do this, or I'm not sure, how do I get this coin that's really obscure that I'm not sure how to do that? And how do I swap coins, and how do I get this? Then, how do I get this off? Then, we're here to help you with that, and again, it's just start out doing it safely, and then let's get to the point where we build your confidence. And then at the end of the day, then the whole goal is let's get profitable. And then again, we'll start to talk about, like, it's really, whether it's crypto or whether it's fiat, it's no different, whether you're talking to us or whether you're talking to Charles Schwab or TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, whoever, right? The bottom line is, like, okay, what is your risk profile? What do you want to accomplish, right? And there's some people that, I really would like to get a steady rate of return, and we're going to talk a little bit more about staking, right? Some people might be like, all right, I just I want to try to get some meme coin, and I hope Elon Musk tweets about it, and I get a Lamborghini or whatever. Okay, well, good luck with that. But we'll talk about the pros and cons of that, and ultimately it's going to be your decision. Some people might be like, this is cool, I'm not so sure I want to get risky. I definitely don't want to do the meme thing, but I do think it makes sense to me about Bitcoin being a digital gold and a store of value, and it does make sense to me that Ethereum and these smart contracts, I just see that there's just going to be more and more utility with that, and so that could be like more. I want to be more of a blue chip investor. If you're more of an income person with less risk, then you might take a look at, like, how can we find some nice staking opportunities that aren't, not FTX, but some other things that aren't high risk. So it's So when you start and get started, we will ask, but think about that ahead of time. Of like, hey, what's your goal and what do you accomplish and what's your risk tolerance? And and then that kind of helps determine what we're gonna get into first, and then what we're gonna get into next. So start out
Yeah.
small. You can always add to it.
Yeah, one of the things that fascinated me coming from traditional finance, kind of like yourself, is how basically developers in blockchain are modeling after traditional financial models. But one of the benefits in decentralization is you're cutting out that middleman or that central um, company that has a duty to share profits with shareholders and manage everything properly. So by eliminating all that stuff, there's plenty of profit left over for all of us, the coin and token holders. And I love that book, Life After Google by George Gilder. And the whole premise of his book is those who own the networks of the future are the ones that will be the new wealthy people. So that's really where this is all heading in this decentralized model of blockchain and crypto. Um, and that's just one of the things that we teach. And so why don't you maybe talk a little bit about what intrigued you, like what we're teaching, and some of the other messages that we really want to get across to people.
Yeah, and I mentioned in the beginning, and in the last advertisements you had, the last slide really says that I can't stress enough. It is not too late. You have not missed the boat. There are still opportunities in there. Yes, there's risk, but there's also reward. So it's really intriguing. Like for me, again, I was just so grateful for Charlie to kind of take the time to say, okay, this is the accounts you're going to need. This is how you're going to need to set them up. Hey, by the way, when you get your fiat money in here, it's going to take time to age. You're going to need 7 to 10 days for it to age before you can actually take it off the exchange, and those kind of things. So, you got to plan ahead before this drop is going to go. Or if you're just buying Bitcoin and you're just going to, go with that, then that's maybe a little bit less crucial and less exchanges you do. But just kind of knowing the fact that Charlie knows the process of this is how you get money in. This is how you get your fiat in from your bank account. This is how you go. This is how you're going to use MetaMask to go here. We can use PancakeSwap to go from one coin to another, that kind of deal. And then an important thing too that I'm, really grateful for Charlie too is just, have a way to keep track of all this stuff, because April 15th is going to come and you need to know how much money went in and what are my capital gains and my capital losses. And it's going to be no different than a stock. The IRS wants to know about it and get their cut if you made it, or let you write off 3,000 if you didn't. And so you need to track it. So having something like coinmarketcap.com and where you can keep track of that and be able to have all your transactions in there. So when tax day comes around, it's just not so overwhelming to try to go back through the paper trail. Now, what did I all do last year? And then try to keep track of that. So just kind of having a whole system in place that Charlie has done here with the Goose is just grateful to have found that. And I'm grateful for him to take me onto the team. And again, if you're already doing this yourself, kudos. If not, and you're a little intimidated and you want to talk through some different options, or you want us to kind of help to okay, let's get that Bitcoin off and let's just kind of keep it safe somewhere, but not worry about it for 5 years and let it just take off like people think it will be, then Good Goose and the team can help you with that. So just great. It's just great stuff. Very exciting,
Yeah, and we're excited to have your expertise as well. And you take a little bit of that element of somewhat of a beginner, but I mean obviously you learn super quick, and you do make it look simple. So I love that perspective as well. So with what would I say? With your experience with some of the shortcuts, like have you used Cash App? Couldn't think of the app there for a minute, but like even Cash App, it's started by Jack Dorsey, who started Twitter, and then with it was a Square company, and he changed it to Block to be more blockchain relevant. So have you used that or any of these other apps to initially like dabble in these?
I haven't used Cash App specifically, just kind of the standard ones, to be honest, like the Venmo and Zelle and things like that. But, sending things on PayPal, more traditional things. But no, I haven't used Cash App yet, but that's on my to-do list.
Yeah, it's actually a nice one for onboarding, because you can buy Bitcoin directly, and because it's already connected to your bank account. But they, I noticed, don't require that seasoning. So I discovered that you can literally transfer that over to a wallet pretty quickly. So, for people who want to get started, that's a super shortcut way. I mean, we want to help everybody. If you want to hire us and you want to get super serious about this and learn it and deep dive as quickly as possible, there's a place for that. But for even people who want to, dabble in it in some way, that's a really good tip that, Cash App, buy Bitcoin, send it to a wallet. The key is setting up that wallet the right way. And that's, probably one of the most important steps in writing down your passphrases and, safety's first. And the other thing too that we also talk about is convenience does not equal security. So,
Absolutely.
Whatever your risk management is, as far as your password or your cybersecurity at home or on your phone, you do need to up level that.
Yep, absolutely. And I also be cautious too of doing too much stuff on your phone, or if you have at least with Android, you got a SIM card, right? But there's a way you can put a password on that. So just be careful, because your phone is more vulnerable than kind of going on your laptop. And then of course with your laptop, make sure you've got some good antivirus software to help protect yourself, and go from there. So, because that is one thing. We're still there. This is all still new. And like the phrase, going through this degree so many times, it's the wild, wild west. And we use that phrase so many times. And, just like this thing that happened for us, it didn't work the first time, the second time, and some bots came in, and this is the wild, wild west, and there's people out there that are just going to want to hack, there's hackers out there, and they're just going to try to come up with any, there's been phishing campaigns for many, many years on emails, but there's just ways for people to hack. And so I try to limit what I put on my phone for as far as any kind of financial, apps and stuff like that. I think it's a little bit more susceptible, and I definitely like the computer first. And I know Charlie has talked about like having a Chromebook that's never even on the internet, right? So, I mean, you can do a Ledger, all those or Treasure, but then there's also like kind of a way to just like, okay, let's get a Chromebook, and then let's just never put that on the internet, and let's put our seed phrases there, and let's put some crypto there. So just those things to just, keep yourself, because unfortunately there's a lot of bad guys out there, and in the wild
I
west.
dig that you like that idea with the Chromebook. It's worked well for me and a lot of my clients who don't want to mess with, the little thumb drive, things like that. So, we try to make it easy. And how does this fit into your lifestyle? You met one of the clients the other day where he's younger. I mean, we have 2 16-year-old clients, and and he said, that his family doesn't have a lot, so they share a computer, and his other computer was a school computer, so he couldn't use that. So, he had to put it on the family computer. So just kind of walking through that, and he's like, all right, he's like, I'll save up $250 and go buy a Chromebook. And, it's just, we keep it simple.
Yep. That's exactly it. So,
well, good. We are at time. Thank you so much, Erik. Is any closing remarks?
Not really. Just go back to the title, which is more valuable, blockchain master's degree, or I don't know if there's a yes or no answer to that. They're both good. But at the end of the day, I think the real life, even though I've got my master's degree, I think the real life experience is where the rubber hits the road, is that's more important, at the end of the day. That being said, getting this master's degree I post things on LinkedIn, or I'll repost
Cool.
a thing. And I've the most feedback I've gotten on any post I've ever done is people saying, "Hey, you got a master's degree," and I'm not in my 20s or my 30s, so it felt kind of good to stick with that program. I was telling Charlie real quick that I saw someone online famous, and they're like, a master's degree or a bachelor's, any kind of degree may not necessarily be all this tremendous knowledge that you learn, but it sends a message that you picked something, you chose to do it, you took it to the finish line, you got it done, and you stuck with it, and you've learned some stuff. And so get your real life experience. But gosh, when you got tuition reimbursement from my company and you don't even have to pay for the degree, well, that was kind of a no-brainer too. I just got to put in the effort, right? So they're both good, but that real life experience, nothing beats it, right? So
awesome. Thanks again, Erik. We'll see you later. Thanks for
Thanks.
tuning in, everyone. And goosemag.com or cryptocurrencyforthepeople.com. Reach out to us. We're happy to help. Thanks.